Hello, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram users. This is FOB Fuego here with another episode of Burning the Salt. It is, as of right now, October 26, 2017. It's 11:14 p.m. And just wanted to talk about some things that have been happening before we get into the topic. And possible news in the future. Tomorrow is one of the meetups for U of H, and a good friend of mine is going to be over there. And tomorrow, I want to see if I can be able to get him on a podcast to talk to him about things that have been happening, not just with him, but things he's been wanting to vent in some way or form. And I want to provide that platform to him. So I'm going to ask him when I talk to him tomorrow. I'm not going to say who it is. But I want to talk to him and see if he wants to share and vent online, unfiltered, whatever he wants to talk about. It's going to be for him. But that's for tomorrow. Also for tomorrow, there is a game number 3 of the World Series. And it already starting to become one of the craziest series already, even though they're 2 games in. The Dodgers bodied the Astros in Game 1. And then the Astros came back in spectacular fashion and had literally a slugfest with the Dodgers with a combined total of 10 home runs by both teams. And it's quite impressive. I was at the edge of my seat. I was running around. I could not contain the hype that I was feeling last night. And I will have to say that was one of the best games I've ever seen in a long time, and hopefully we can finish it out starting tomorrow and Saturday, and hopefully we can get it done, because the next 3 games are going to be in Houston, and if we play our cards right, we can finish it here at home. So we're going to see what happens then. But anyway, excuse me, just want to talk about today's topic and something that caught my attention. Because what I'm starting to do now in these podcasts, if it's just me, I'm starting to read some articles to talk about what's going on. And not only that, compared to a debacle that have happened in the past. Meaning, like for example, the last episode I talked about what's currently happening with the Smashbox compared to what happened to the Hitbox back in my own home city of Houston. And this one didn't happen really here in Houston, but this one happened in literally throughout the whole country. What I'm about to talk about. There's a game that's going to come out in January, okay? And if you know what it is, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you the name of it. It's called Dragon Ball Z Fighters. Now, the people that make it, they're called Arc Systems. They're the one that made the Guilty Gear games, which is the Guilty Gear XRD, Revelator, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they also made I want to say Blaze Blue, but I'm not sure if they did, so don't quote me on that one. But I know for sure they made Guilty Gear, and those games, and the way that they make it is 2D fighting, but with 3D models. They design the models in 3D and they just put it in a plane to where you're looking at them in a fixed location, and the movements are fluid and fast, and you're doing high flying combos and crazy hypers and supers. Okay, now as soon as this game was announced I want to say a year ago, at the Xbox Experience, or E3 actually, they're the ones that first showed it off. It looked amazing. It looked badass. And to be honest with you, the game is being made in great hands. Very great hands, because I've been seeing a lot of comparisons from the manga to the show whenever a lot of the characters do their movements, and Arc Systems managed to catch the essence of certain moves and the iconic movements and postures and the poses that each character possess, whether it's through the manga or through the anime. And it's done very well. Right, I have yet to play it, not yet, but I did sign up for the next wave of beta, which I might get a code soon, and hopefully I can get some footage of that, and I can be able to play online. But that's in the future. But I wanted to talk about something that's starting to be, which we're not really surprised that it's happening already because it's been practice for like the last few years. But I believe it's starting to get just a little bit out of hand if you actually are very devoted to the game. Okay, so I'm gonna read an article from GameSpot, and it's talking about the Dragon Ball Fighter Z DLC Season Pass announced and adds 8 new playable characters. Okay, that's the name of the article. I will post it in the link, that way you can look at it yourself, but I'm going to read it out to you guys right now. Okay, starting from the top, it says, Bandai Namco has shared a lot of exciting news about Dragon Ball Fighter Z today, and on top of announcing the release date for the highly anticipated fighting game, as well as an upcoming open beta for PS4 and Xbox One, today the publisher revealed the first details about the game's DLC Character Pass. Following the game's launch, players will have the option to purchase the Fighter Z Pass, which grants access to a slate of DLC characters at a discounted price. The pass costs $35 and gives players access to 8 new characters when they are released. Bandai Namco hasn't hinted at which characters will be included, but they'll come alongside their respective stamps and lobby avatars. And in that same article, there's a picture of basically what I just said. Let me read this real quick. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, so it's going to be $34 to get the pass, and you get 8 new characters for the Dragon Ball Z fighters. And each character comes with their respective stamp, lobby avatars, and alternate colors. So as of right now, the roster is at 18, and I think they're going to add 8 more, if I'm not mistaken. So let me continue reading. Okay, it says, so far, Bandai Namco has revealed 18 characters for Dragon Ball Fighter Z, including fan favorites like Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Future Trunks, and Android 18. Most recently, we learned that 2 more villains, Nappa and Captain Ginyu, will also be playable characters. You can see all the Dragon Ball Fighter Z characters in our roundup. Basically, you can see what they look like. Dragon Ball Fighter Z releases for PS4, Xbox One, and PC in the US and Europe on January 26, 2018. PS4 and Xbox One players who pre-order the digital version will get early access to the game's open beta, though Bandai Namco hasn't revealed any timing details. Pre-ordering the title will also unlock Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta early. Okay, so that's it on that end, as far as that. And, okay, the season pass, $34. Not bad. Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's a discounted price. So what I'm taking out of it is the characters. If you're to buy them at a regular standard price, they're going to be, if you add them up, it's not going to be $35. It's going to be possibly a little bit more. So they're giving you a chance to get it at a discounted price to get 8 new fighters. Now, as of right now, we're not sure if those 8 fighters are the ones that are already in the game, as far as the ones that are being recently announced for the release date. Because it could be like 18 characters already have been announced, and then imagine only having access to 10, and then the 8 characters that are going to be already seen be released at a later date, which kind of sounds stupid, which it is stupid. But I think what's going to happen is the more they keep announcing, by the time that the game drops, we'll have a solid number, and once that number starts, then we can actually start adding the 8 new characters to the game. There's no problem with that, right? This is how Arc Systems make their money. That's how they've been doing it with Guilty Gear XRD Revelator. They've had characters. I'm not sure if they had a season pass, but I'm sure they might have something similar to that, because I think they use whenever they put the game, let's say they put the game for release, but whenever they do it for Guilty Gear, it's a full stacked game already, and so you want to buy everything that's on there, because one, the game is complete. They have a robust fighting system in there. Not only that, training, trials, and not only trials, but it actually tells you how to use the characters, but in a very detailed way. And I think certain matchups as well. is a very underrated game, and it's very fun, very fast paced. I never got quite into it, but it's very insane. Let me tell you that. So with that being said, they're doing okay. So that's still what they're doing, and looking at the price, that standard game, right? For let's say if you want to just get the game for it, it's $60. That's been the price for a brand new game for a while, which is not bad. But then I noticed that there's a Dragon Ball Fighter Z Collector's Edition. This thing is $140. Okay, but this is what you get. All right, you get 3 art boards, a 7-inch Goku statue, Collector Z box, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which is the game, and a steelbook. So basically, I'm gonna read what they are. Dragon Ball Fighter Z Collector's Z Edition. Say that 7 times. Includes a game, a 7-inch Goku statue, manga dimension coloring, exclusive steelbook, 3 artboards, and a collector's box to house all the items. So, and it talks about what the game is going to be doing. Fun fighting system, 3 versus 3 tag support, high-end anime graphics, spectacular fights in 60 frames per second on 1080p resolution, and you can play with another person offline online. Okay, that's fine. This is for the hardcore person that wants to not just play the game but get the full experience with this game, as far as collecting and getting something exclusive that not a lot of people will have. With that said, it's $140, which could cover the price of the little statue and the art books and all that good stuff. That's fine. That's totally cool with that. I'm totally down with that. And then that's not including the season pass. So in total, you're spending at least 100. I want to say, what's it? Which one is for this game right now? For the deluxe edition, which is the Collector Z edition, $140, and the season pass, like as we said before, $35. So 35 plus 140, like $175. Let's just round it up to I want to say 180. Okay, possibly because tax, of course, you have to include tax. You're willing to spend $180 worth of not only content but physical content for you to play with. Okay, I think it's fair, because they don't just say you could buy. They give you options. You could either buy the character one by one if you don't want. It's totally up to you. You could buy the season pass where they release all the characters. That's fine too. They want to give you a little statue, how much it is, etc., etc., free art book and all that, which would be pretty badass, because if you really consider that Dragon Ball is actually considered a manga first before the anime, it would be interesting to see like the concept arts, or for the game, and their renditions of certain things that might possibly be in there, or things that were scrapped. That would be a cool addition to have. So as far as this goes, I'm down with it. I'm down with the way that they're doing it, because it gives you everything. Now they haven't announced what characters are going to be included in there in the 8th, but that's the beauty of it. Dragon Ball Z has so many fighters that they could be doing like seasons from like 1, 2 to 3, kind of similar to what Street Fighter 5 is doing. But the anime and the manga itself has so many characters. It could be some brand new characters that we never seen before either, that people can't wait to try. So with this, I'm down with, okay, because it gives you the choice if you want to get it or not. Now, if it was like, say, it was $140 to get Dragon Ball Fighter Z only, then that would be a huge problem. Very, very huge problem. So the DLC is fine. Nothing against it. Now, the way that they're doing it, however, as far as we know, it could be a double-edged sword, because yes, they're not seeing what they're going to be doing with the content, what's going to be included in the future. Now, there was an event to that happened, I like to call it, where it did something stupid. Not by the same people, of course. This is from Capcom. And they did a very crappy practice that ended up biting him in the butt. See, back a few years ago, Street Fighter Cross Tekken was announced, and it was going to be released in 2012. Okay? Now, when I heard news of it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was announced in 2010. Yes, it was in 2010. It was in the middle of the summer. So I remember that fully. And they've been hyping up the game, sending out trailers left and right, showing off new characters from Street Fighter. Like some characters that were not in Ultra yet, but they were being included in later in a later time. But the interesting thing was that they had the Tekken characters in there as well, so they were looking pretty cool. Time has been going by, time getting closer, and then there've been early access around the time where the game was being released. And people, people have already been started dating mining the game before it officially dropped, and found something very, very shady. Now, I'm going to read the article. This is from Cinema Blend, and it says on the title, Capcom gets busted on disc DLC discovered for Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And there's a link where it shows in the video, as Shoryuken, it shows all the DLC on this character's playable and movesets are in place. So basically what happened here is that you bought the game, you're downloading all the stuff on there, and in the game already, in the hard copy of the disc, okay, this is where the most issue happened because it was on the disc. The DLC quote unquote characters were already in the disc. Okay, now, first, for me, honestly, I wouldn't really consider that DLC because it's already on the disc. Okay, people have called it disc locked content because it's there, and a lot of people are not happy. But let me read you the article, okay? And it says, and I quote, "Remember that article on this website not too long ago about whether day one DLC was acceptable? Well, it looks like Capcom wants to put that question to the test with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, as characters that were supposed to be released on the console version at a later date as paid for DLC were discovered to already be on the disc. According to Destructoid, they discovered that Ogre, Gil, Dudley, Elena, Cody, Guy, and other supposed DLC characters for the console version of the game were already on the 360 version of the game discs. According to Event Hubs, they're testing if the character models are fully working and playable straight from the disc. Capcom mentioned before that these characters would be accessible fighters on the PS Vita version of the game, but would later appear as a long-term plan of DLC for the console renditions. However, as Destructoid Articles proves, the DLC isn't being made by another production studio, was not finished after the game had gone gold, and is not on some digital cloud storage space. The Street Fighter Cross Tekken DLC is right smack there on the disc and completely accessible if you have the right tools. Capcom now has a bit to answer for." So basically, people found out that on the 360 version, because I have not heard to this day that they found information on the PS3, because I guess people didn't really get it, which I was one of them, and because I was a PS3 guy, and I'm not gonna pay for Xbox Live, honestly. Okay, I'm cheap like that. But anyway, people started data mining the 360 version and found out that there were already characters that were in there. And what Capcom was saying is that they were testing if the characters were going to be ready to be used on the disc in case, for some reason, it wouldn't work on day one. So I guess they're trying to do a new practice, but people took it the wrong way. So, continuing the story, okay? It says, "One thing worth noting, however, is that Capcom has yet to announce pricing and the dates for the DLC. If they were wise, they let this slip under the bed and pretend that they weren't going to charge for the on-disc DLC to begin with. For those who don't know why on disc the day one DLC is a bad thing, I break it down for you like this. You just paid $60 for a game, and a company is saying that you can pay extra to unlock content already contained that's on the $60 game disc. Anywhere between $10 to $15 extra. So essentially, you're paying $70 to $75 to unlock all the content already contained on the disc you bought. Most people with common sense call this a cash grab. The real thing now boils down to gamers. Are you still willing to support day one on this DLC? If you make a big enough stink about it, I'm sure Capcom will come clean and apologize to the gaming community for trying to do a blatant cash grab. However, if you buy into it and accept it, and you're just giving them more incentive to continue to finish development of games and restrict on disc content only to charge you for the content you already paid for a later date. I'm hoping gamers make the right decision. Many of us gamers were afraid that supporting the day one DLC for Mass Effect 3 would lead into further instances like this. But it looks like we don't have to wait till for March 6th for the DLC. Know that the publishers are already getting the milk trains ready to day one DLC on disc. Yeah. If you think this is just a Capcom bashing article, potentially fake, check out the DLC endings of the characters in action and video footage over at Destructoid. So basically, people found not only the characters, but they found already the endings already in the game for the disc lock content of the characters. This was in 2010 until the game came out in 2012, and because of the fact that the way that the game came out, it suffered horribly in the fighting game community. Like, the game was fun, don't get me wrong, but people were noticing that whenever you try to play footsies or you try to basically outpoke one another, the characters that you had too much health for you to even do that. So there were a lot of more timeouts, and whenever time you did the, you start the target combo and then you hit the button to do the tag, it freezes the screen for a little bit, and then it basically slows down the gameplay a little bit. And it had to do a very massive update, possibly maybe like a year later, or 6 months, I'm not sure how long it took. But it made everything to where if you got thrown and you had red health, the health went away. The screen transitions was taken out by, because whenever you do the tag, it zoomed in on you. But now that you do it, it stayed in place, and then it moved a little bit quicker. And the damage was adjusted to where you wouldn't be timed out every time. So they fixed it later down the line. If you play it now, it's very fun. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it a lot. I play it on my Vita all the time because I still have it on there. But this is the issue here. The issue is that I'm not saying the Arc Systems is doing this, but we won't know until January when people start data mining this. If for some odd reason Dragon Ball Z Fighters decides to do this to where, like what Capcom did, that game could die very, very fast, because let me tell you what happened with Cross Tekken here. It went away. Okay, people played it. It was in tournament for at least a year, and then it was gone. Nobody was playing it anymore. Now, I do have colleagues that still play it every once in a while because they do thoroughly enjoy it. But in tournament, it's not really condoned, because of the fact that Capcom practiced a very shady thing that nobody liked, and it could have been taken out of context, honestly. We have to look at it from a developer point of view, okay? Let's just say you're making a game, okay, and you know that you need to try different things to where it could possibly save you guys money to do. What if Capcom was trying to do something to where it wasn't disc lock content? Maybe they were trying to do something where that, yes, the models were on the disc, but maybe they could continue to work on them from afar, making sure everything's fine-tuned whenever they come out. What if, right? What if, let's just say also, that they were to tell you ahead of time? Honestly, if I would have heard Capcom say from the beginning? We're gonna give the game out at $60. You know the character's gonna be on there. Now, if we want to put more characters in the game, we're gonna do something there, okay? We're gonna put them in the game, but we still gotta fine tune them or anything. I believe, honestly, if they would have said something, in the beginning, at least to let people know about it, yes, there will be a backlash of what's going on, but at least they'll be telling you what they're doing. Because it could have been something innocent, and then because of something of a big misunderstanding, it looks like they're doing a very shady practice. And the game died a very quick death. Very quick death. Like, I see it on Steam, and it's not even worth that much. It's not even worth $20. But the reviews for it is actually a fun thing. Other players have even said that because of the whole debacle with the DLC fiasco being like the stuff already in there, killed the hype for the game. And because it was hyped up pretty hard, and it was a big freaking deal. Finally having two companies. Now, it's not the first time they collaborated, of course. They collaborated on other things. But what I'm saying is that their two big fighting franchises are going head to head with one another. And that was a big deal. And it did horrible. It did really bad. And the producer, Yoshinori Ono, he's on the Capcom side. He also said that, he goes, not that we got busted, but like people dug into the game before we even had access to give it out, and now we have to answer for stuff that things that were not bad intentioned. It was bad luck. So I'm gonna see if I can find. I wonder if they did. Yes, they did do it. So now, a few months later, after March, they did apologize. Okay? So, I'm gonna read this last one. It says, Capcom apologizes for Street Fighter Cross Tekken Vita DLC issues. Capcom has apologized for issues with Street Fighter Cross Tekken's Vita downloadable content opposed to Capcom Unity. Capcom Unity writes, our apologies for the issues that you're experiencing with the DLC of Street Fighter Cross Tekken PS Vita. Explains that there were error in home DLC package and Capcom's name. Okay, no. Now, okay, this is different. The first one I was reading, the one I just read just now, it apologized for the Street Fighter Cross Tekken for the Vita, because they had issues with it trying to connect, and they basically gave you free costumes, like another set of costumes that you didn't have. So that was on them. But there was one where they actually did not apologize for Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Okay, so this one's called Capcom Won't Apologize for Street Fighter Cross Tekken on Disc DLC. When a company lose whatever good will be built over 30 years in 3 easy steps. 1. Capcom began selling DLC for Street Fighter Cross Tekken that was completed before the game shipped and was included on the disc. Number 2. Several Street Fighter Cross Tekken players had then filed complaints with Better Business bureaus over the unethical nature of this practice. And number 3. Capcom replies, in essence, DLC included on the disc and available to download from a server are exactly the same. So they said, really, I'm not the one of those people who believe on this DLC is inherently evil as long as the game maker is upfront and everything before the sale. Basically what I just mentioned before. Okay? Continuing, it says, but this is too much. Bad form, Capcom. Gamers may constantly crack jokes about the evil empire tactics of Activision and EA, but neither one has ever said anything about over-the-top evil. You can read the publisher's full response in the BBB after the break. Okay? So, this one's called Capcom's response to BBB. At Capcom, we value our customers and make every effort to resolve customer complaints. We are sorry to hear that the censored was. Why does it say that? It says, we are sorry to hear that blank. We are so disappointed with the Street Fighter Cross Tekken game and would like to respond to this complaint. Street Fighter Cross Tekken has an enormous amount of content fully developed and available for play and enjoyment immediately on disc. Given the 38 character available for full play as well as multiple play modes, Street Fighter Cross Tekken provides great value from all players from day one. While Capcom is sorry that some of its fans are not happy about the chosen method of delivery for the DLC, we believe that this method will provide more flexible and efficient gameplay throughout the game's life cycle. There is effectively no distinction between the DLC being blocked behind the disc and available for unlocking them at a later date, or being available through a full download at a later date and then delivery mechanism. We hope that this addresses Blank's concerns. So, they didn't apologize. Okay? They did not apologize for what they did, because from what they're saying, they're not saying that they not lock the content. Like I said again, there is effectively no distinction between the DLC being locked behind the disc and available for unlocking at a later date, or being available through a full download at a later date other than a delivery mechanism. They're not apologizing because, for one, there could be two things. They could be lying, which a lot of people believe that they're doing, or they had other plans that they wanted to do and they wanted to try something different. Okay? But because of the way that this happened, made not only Capcom look really bad, but it hurt the relationship between Capcom and Namco, because Capcom was the one making the game with the permission of Namco's Tekken characters in there. There was also in talks of having a Tekken Cross Street Fighter game, and because of what happened with the Street Fighter Cross Tekken debacle, we haven't heard anything from Tekken Cross Street Fighter, which is Namco's version of the game, but it would have the Street Fighter characters in a Tekken environment, which I was really hoping forward to have, because I know it would have been a very nice addition to the Tekken series, and it would have been something that, to invest in. But you see what happens whenever when a company does anything like this, to where everything's in lock content and everything. As of right now, Dragon Ball Z Fighter says we're adding 8 new characters, this and that, this and that, this and that. Now, if for some reason the game is already on a disc, or it could be in the code, because not everyone's going to be buying the hard disk version. People are going to be buying the digital download. Like for me, I get the digital download, making it a lot easier on me. But imagine if it didn't have that in there. Okay, imagine if you had the choice where you had to get the disc, and somebody that knows how to look into the files, probably in a very weird way. They look into the files and find out that, hey, not only there's 20, not only of the 8 characters that are going to be added in here, but there's 20 more slots in here, and there's code names in there, and they're fully playable, and what the hell? Okay, if Dragon Ball Fighter Z were to do the same thing that Capcom did, the game will die, Arc System will look very bad, and it'll be very difficult to recover, because as of right now, Dragon Ball Fighter Z is a very, very hot game coming in right now, and people are enjoying it a lot. Because they call this game the Marvel Infinite Killer, because they think it's gonna be destroying Marvel's Capcom Infinite, and that game doesn't, Marvel's Capcom Infinite doesn't really have bad DLC practices on it. It just, the content already being released for it, and while people were complaining on the way that things were looking in the game, Capcom is walking on eggshells, basically. What happened? Why did how could they let it go this far? And I can tell you what happened. It's not just Capcom playing the games or anything. Namco was involved as well. and in this case, right now, Marvel's Capcom Infinite, like Marvel is also part of it as well. And they say we want you to use these characters, and you can design them however you want to do it, but you have to run it by us. Have to be kid friendly, of course. Yada yada yada. And due to that, that's why you're not seeing any X-Men characters or Fantastic Four, because people believe that because of that, they don't have the rights to them due to Fox owning the movie rights. That's not really technically true. Marvel and Capcom have stated that they can have the X-Men or Fantastic Four characters in the games because they're not basing the game off of the movie universe. Like, for example, they're not getting the exact same characters that are in all the Marvel movies because they're branching just a little bit further out to put them in there. Granted, the characters that they are using in Infinite are some of the same from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That doesn't really mean that they can't use them. So what does that have to do with Arc Systems? That's like saying which does not have that hurdle to jump across, because that's like saying we're gonna have Dragon Ball Z Fighters 2, but we're gonna have the exact same characters from the get-go and slightly different characters. Capcom cannot catch a break right now. They're struggling really, really hard, and it's starting to show. If you heard my last 2 podcasts ago, I talked about what Capcom started to do the arcade mode, but it was after nearly almost 2 years. It's gonna be almost 2 years whenever the new DLC comes out for Arcade Edition. It'll be 1 month shy of being 2 years old. So they're backpedaling really hard, and they're trying to make sure everything goes out without a hitch. But Dragon Ball Z Fighters is in a very unique position to where it's very fun, very hype. A lot of new things are going to be added much later. A story mode is already being in the works already. They started showing screenshots, which looks amazing. And if they manage to get off the gate right, it's going to be a very, very, very successful game. Now, that doesn't exclude if there's going to be server crashes, of course. It's going to happen day one. It's more than likely to happen. But the game is going to be so insane, so much fun. And I hope that they don't suffer from the same practices from Capcom. So if, for some odd reason, later down the line, that if they do find disallowed content, they're in trouble. Or the content locked within the code, like if they're already fully playable, like that would be very bad look on Arc Systems, which we are hoping that is not the case. So because of the Street Fighter Cross Tekken debacle, Capcom literally had to change the way that they did things. Like Street Fighter 5, when it came out, they're like, okay, it got data mined again, but the characters will not in the game fully yet. They were updated through like monthly or mini patches, I like to call them. And you might find one character being ready because they're constantly working on the characters for them to be used. That practice is a little bit better, and people have actually been able to hack the game, like probably within like a week or two before the character even comes out, and they're fighting that new DLC character even though they're not supposed to. And Capcom has been cracking down on them and trying to figure out who's been doing this, and because it's a very big deal. Like, I do not condone data mining to figure out what's going to be happening later in the future, but I will say if it wasn't for this data mine, we wouldn't be able to find our already content and locked in the game already. So Capcom, keep fixing your shit. Arc Systems, you have the best chance of actually shutting everyone down right now. Or not shutting everyone down, but showing them how to do a proper game release and how to do all of these practices. Okay? So, Hope the game does well. Hope there's no content locked in a game or in the code, and we'll see what happens. Around this time, I will possibly be in Japan, which I might see the game being released over there, possibly, maybe. Okay, that's a big maybe, but I will say that I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to get the beta codes or the next wave of beta testing, and we hope this is going to be for the better. So, alright guys, we're going to call this a night. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions or have any requests on what topics you want to talk about next, whether it be a game or content or console, feel free to leave me a comment or contact me on Facebook. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the podcast, I hope that my friend will answer me, and hopefully we can try and do something together soon. Sorry, fighters, you have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Good luck to the Astros tomorrow, and remember, keep on fighting, fighters. Later.